Hi, I'm Bill Bronchick, and in this video I'd like to share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that wholesalers make when trying to wholesale a property. Now, if you don't know what wholesaling is, it's basically tying up a property with a contract and then trying to sell it to another investor at a wholesale price. And you're not selling retail to an owner-occupant, you're selling to another investor, and you have to package and market it accordingly. And of course, you will have more than likely generated a list of investors first before you go out and find properties to market to them too. So the first mistake that people make is in the math, and the math looks something like this. You start with what's called your ARV, or after repaired value. So if it's a junker property, what's it worth in fixed up condition? Now, first of all, you got to be accurate in this number. You can't puff it. You can't say, well, my realtor said I might get this. Investors who are going to buy from you don't want to hear that, because if your ARV is way off, you lose all credibility with that investor. So make sure your ARV is a correct and conservative number. You do times generally 0.7, and that gives you a 30% margin for gross profit. And I say gross profit because the number you get there is your the number there, the maximum you want to pay, the 70% minus repairs. Okay, so if there's a $100,000 property and needs 20,000 repairs, 70% of that is 70,000 minus 20 repairs. Then you can only pay 50 for that property. Now, some people will shade that a little thin, 70, 72%, 74. The more you shave that, the less room there is for the other investor. And I think the mistake that a lot of wholesalers primarily make is, instead of looking at this bottom line number that I got to pay 50 and thinking I have to wholesale this, therefore I have to offer 45 for my fee, that is wrong. The seller doesn't care if you intend to wholesale it and you have to make a profit. They're not going to go that low on the price. So where does the wholesale profit come from? Well, it comes out of this number, that 30% margin, the other 0.3 of this. That 30% margin is going to be roughly 15% profit, and about 15% of it is what I call soft costs. So the soft costs are going to be your closing costs, your holding costs, your realtor fees, and so forth. Okay? So out of that profit, let's say in our example deal of a $100,000 house, if the profit is only $15,000, your fee is coming off of this. All right, so if you want $10,000, you're only leaving the other investor $5,000, which is an undoable deal. You can't buy, fix, and flip a property for a $5,000 profit. So maybe your profit is $2,000 and you're leaving $13,000 on the table. Okay, so remember, the wholesale fee does not come by offering a lower price, but by getting a deal and shaving just a little bit off there and leaving enough meat on the bone for the other investor. All right. The second mistake that investors make as wholesalers is that they ask too much. So in this case, let's say the investor wants, a $3,000 profit. So what the investor wholesaler will do is they'll email everyone and mark it up so they're getting a $6,000 profit, figuring they're going to be negotiated against, and then they'll end up with the $3,000 profit. Normally that's right. When you're doing real estate deals, you want to leave room to negotiate, but not in a wholesale deal. First of all, most investors don't have time to wonder whether that's your bottom line price. A lot of people are just too chicken to ask or negotiate. A lot of them will assume that's your bottom line and think your deal stinks. And the bottom line is you don't really have time. I mean, time is of the essence here. You put this property in a contract, you have a short period of time to get it sold to another investor, wholesaled to another investor, and get an earnest money deposit from that other investor. And that's usually about a week window, and that's it. So don't play around. If your bottom line is you want to make $2,000 or $3,000 of profit, then present the deal to your investors exactly like that and say, this is the bottom line, I'm not messing around, take it or leave it. Okay? The third mistake that investors make as wholesalers is that they only wholesale it as a fix and flip deal. Now, given this same example here, the $100,000 house, and we arrived at 20,000 repairs, took 30% off, got down to 70, 20,000 repairs, got down to 50, and that's a little thin. As a wholesale deal, there's only 15 profit. minus, your fee of, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000, only leaving about $12,000, $13,000 for the fix and flip investor that you're going to sell it to, there's not a lot of profit there, not a lot of meat on the bone. But if you said, look, the same house, if you don't replace the cabinets and you don't put new countertops and you don't put new appliances but you put used, and you don't upgrade the bathrooms, just put carpet paint, some used appliances and a little bit of yard work, and let's say for $6,000 or $7,000 you can get it into tip-top shape as a rental. Here's what it would rent for, and here's what your deal would look like as a rental. So don't just market as a fix and flip, because of the investors that you flip to, more than half of them are landlords too. So instead of limiting your pool to just, this is just a fix and flip, market as this could be a fix and flip, or this can be a buy and hold as a rental, and instead of putting 20 into it, you only have to put 6 or 7, and then the margin looks pretty good as a rental property. So don't limit it just to a fix and flip. And the last point I want to make is make it easy for the end buyer investor. Don't just email little bits and piecemeal of stuff when you're email. Make a beautiful 20-page flyer, pictures, links to videos, estimates of rehab, comps, everything, what you might sell it for, a couple of hard money lenders they can call. If they're going to rent it as a buy and hold, then some comparable rents in the neighborhood. So make it really, really easy so that when someone gets your wholesale deal, your little package, everything they need is right there. They don't have to investigate any further, and you're more likely to sell and collect your check quickly. I hope you've enjoyed these tips for wholesaling properties. This is Bill Bronchick.